goes up with his hand and
Jonathan missed the contact part of practice today. He jammed his thumb. Chris Paul also sat out. We had a tough kind of back-to-back days, 2 days, yesterday and today with scrimmaging, and we went pretty hard. So we gave Chris it was more precautionary than anything. He got a great workout in before the scrimmage, and then tomorrow will be light, but I don't think JK or Chris will be limited in any way going forward.
So quick clarifying follow-up. So Chris missed the contact portion of practice or the entirety?
The contact portion, yeah.
Did JK jam his thumb like coming for a rebound or just playing defense?
He said, I think it was he hit it on the backboard, going up either for a block shot or a rebound. He said he didn't feel anything when it happened because of the adrenaline, and then it got sore overnight. So, but it's not serious. He'll be fine.
So it should be good to go for the next game too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Peter?
With Draymond being out, though, it does look like he's moving around pretty good. And then obviously CP, like, how are you addressing the fact that, Draymond's played point guard for so long and been the orchestrator of the offense. CP is going to have to do that. How are you trying to build chemistry between the two of them without having Draymond out there in a full capacity?
Well, there's really good chemistry in terms of their connection. They spent a lot of time together this summer, both in LA and then up here, playing pickup. Those guys have really connected well. I think the on-court stuff will just have to unfold when Draymond comes back, and that's that's going to be a case of two incredibly smart players learning how to play together. But they do occupy a similar part of the floor, so I think that's the biggest thing. When they're in pick and roll, Draymond's going to need to dive, and the good thing is Draymond understands that already. I don't even have to tell him, so he'll vacate that spot, give Chris that space, and then there will be some nuances. Some of them may be installed, some of them maybe that come out organically in our offense where we just are able to put them in spots where they can work together and both be effective. So, like I said, I'm not very concerned because they're both so smart. Then I think they'll figure it out pretty quickly.
Somewhat along those same lines. Sorry, I'm the worst with microphones. It does seem. It does seem coming in. I know you guys have used connectivity and all that, but it also seems that basketball IQ was given a big. It was an emphasis. It was a point for the off season. How are you seeing that manifest already? I think we saw some in the preseason game, but especially with the young guys, they seem mature beyond their years.
Yeah, I mean Brandon has a great feel for the game. He definitely leads the team in deflections in the first week or 10 days, whatever it is, whatever it's been. He's constantly one step ahead of the play at both ends. Rotating defensively, cross-graining the ball and catching the defense off guard with a cross-court pass, attacking closeouts. Like he has great feel. And then I think the job the front office did, adding Dario, who really connects the game for us as a big who can shoot in space, but also punish people inside with his strength and his size. Cory Joseph hasn't played yet, but very, very smart player. One of the top guys in the league in assist-to-turnover ratio. Chris, that goes without saying, his intelligence. So this feels like a really high IQ team, and they're showing that, I think, early on.
Going back to the game the other night, you mentioned that you want to see Klay play some 4 this year. Played very little last year, but he seemed to really be aggressive rebounding the ball. How was that conversation between you and him? How that happened, and what was his? How did he welcome it or accept it?
Yeah, I mean the rebounding conversation was first had with the entire team. I think we're emphasizing it with everybody. And then, the conversations with Klay, both this year and at the end of last year, have really centered around adapting your game as you get older. You have to, there's just going to be certain things you can't do anymore, so you got to add other things. And I think Klay staying in the play and not leaking out is a really big deal for us this year. If he stays in the play, we're going to get a lot more long rebounds at both ends. So we want him crashing on the offensive glass. We want him staying in on the defensive glass, hitting bodies. If he can pick off a few extra rebounds a game, it's going to help him. It's going to help us.
Does that in turn give Wiggs more opportunities to defend on the perimeter? I mean, it seems like at one point you kind of were interchangeable between those two guys, but it looks like Wiggins is going to be more on the perimeter a little bit more.
I would agree that if there's a matchup where you got a more dynamic player on the perimeter and a stronger guy on the interior, Klay will be on the stronger guy, Wiggs will be on the dynamic guy. That'll generally be the case.
Steve, hi, nice to see you. You've spoken about continuing to learn and grow as a coach, and even referencing that last week with the WNBA announcement and learning from a new staff coming in. How did you sort of, over the summer, ponder some of the challenges that this group went through last season, even starting in training camp, and maybe how you grew as a coach and what you did well and maybe things that you kind of reflected upon?
Yeah. I think that's a part of every offseason for me, looking back at the season, especially once you get a chance to get away and breathe and you get away from the pressure of it all, and you can look back in a more even-keeled manner. So you think a lot about how you handled things, and there were definitely things that I wish I had handled differently last year. I'm an avid reader of coaching, other coaches, other sports, what people are doing. I've become a big football fan of European football, so I read a book about Carlo Ancelotti, the Real Madrid coach. Another one called the Barcelona Way, which really highlights Pep Guardiola. These guys are such incredible coaches, and they've taken the time to write books and really reflect on coaching and what they do well, what they regret, that sort of thing. And so I find just reading about other people and in other sports is hugely impactful. It really makes me think and gives me ideas for the following year.
Along those lines, and I've watched Tara for 20 years as well, and she brings people in if she evaluates her personnel and says, okay, we need to change our offense from what we've done for the last 10 years. Or do you start to, as your roster comes together, even if you're on vacation or back down in Southern California, do you pull out a clipboard and start thinking about personnel and, okay, we might have to change this system a little bit? And I mean, how much, you can't ever get it truly away,
right.
Can you?
No, you're always thinking about it, but it's okay because we love what we do, so it's fun to think about. We try to adapt to our personnel every year. I think teams are doing different things all the time. I know when I was in Manila with Team USA, I was clipping lots of stuff that FIBA teams were doing, saying, hey, this would be a good late game play, or good play for Steph or CP or whatever. And I think we're all kind of doing that all the time.
The annual GM survey came out today, and the Warriors got no love for championship possibility. How do you like that?
I don't care. Makes no difference.
Being the non-favorite,
Yeah, I mean, it never did anything for me when people picked us, and it doesn't do anything for me that they don't. So it's just stuff, interesting stuff for fans to read, but nothing that helpful or harmful to us, and definitely not any bulletin board material. I'm not posting that on the locker room wall. No GMs picked us to win the title. How does that make you feel, fellas? I don't know. I don't think anybody cares.
Hey, Steve, I was just wondering with Podziemski, a guy who hasn't played a ton in college where he just has the 1 year, do you find that those guys are easier to mold because they have maybe less of an identity of who they are, or is it more tricky than maybe like a 4-year college player?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure that it applies in that manner. I think every player is unique and different from one another. Generally, I would say I like getting players who have more experience, but he has very little experience, and he seems to have a knack. Some guys just have a knack, and this guy's got a knack, and he's in the middle of the scrum every time. Long rebounds, he's there first. Finding an open guy, cross-court pass, like he makes that pass. Attacking the rim when there's a gap, he's attacking that gap. Other players, sometimes you get a guy who's had 3-4 years of college and he doesn't see that stuff. So I think every case is different, really. But you are looking for guys who have a good feel and a good foundation of fundamentals. And I think Brandon has a really good feel, and now we've got to add to that and help him get better.
Steve, on that same note of experience, in what ways has Trayce's experience kind of shined through a little bit through the first week of camp?
With Trayce, I think, 125 college games, something like that. I think it manifests itself offensively as a big where he understands immediately. Catch the ball at the top of the key as a center, go dribble handoff with somebody on the weak side. He understands the value of swinging the ball in the opposite direction. He's pretty early rotating defensively for block shots and rebounds. All that game experience definitely has helped Trayce.
Going back to Pods, and I know previously you said, especially these rookies, they're going to have to prove themselves to get out on the court during the regular season and stuff, but with the skill set that you're talking about him having, with the loss of Donte from last season, because I know you guys really liked him as that rebounder, that guard who was in the mix down low. Are those kind of like encouraging things to see from Pods as you lose that in Donte, but there are traces of that in other people?
Yeah. I mean, I thought Donte was so important for us last year because he was just in the mix all the time. He played with such good energy. And his intentions were always great. I mean, he impacted the game as soon as he got out there. That's why the fans loved him. And so we're going to miss Donte, but that's, an open spot for somebody to step into. Maybe it's Brandon. Maybe it's Moses. Maybe it's someone else. I don't know. But we do have to replace what Donte gave us.